Well, good morning. Granny Gear here for Old Guy on a Bike. Gravel bike tires are getting bigger and bigger, it seems. And lately, well, I've stepped up my gravel bike tire size one notch to see how it was. My thoughts on that coming up, but I'll tell you, spoiler alert, there is no free lunch. Or is there? There's been a lot of clamoring, hasn't there, for bigger and bigger gravel bike tires. And the manufacturers, well, they've been upping the ante. In gravel bikes now, a lot of them, well, they can take a pretty big tire, and we're starting to see many of them saying, well, it'll take a 50mm gravel bike tire, which in metric speak, you know, that's about a 2-inch wide tire, which is getting to be rather poofy. And it has me interested because the Turner Cyclosis I ride, well, they can easily take a 50mm tire, maybe even a little bit bigger. But I was wondering, was that for me? And I thought I'd like to experience it. And hey, here I am at Sea Otter 2024 in the Wilderness Trail Bikes booth, and they were showing me a 50mm version of the 42mm Resolute that I have been running for quite some time. It's a tire I know very, very well. I like it. It works well for my conditions. And this was an opportunity for me to try a one size up bigger tire in the same tire and compare it and see how it was going to be for me, because you know there's got to be some wins, there's going to be some losses, and I was wondering how the balance sheet would tip out for me, and would a 50mm tire be my new go-to? So Wilderness Trail Bikes, well, they were kind enough to send me out a set of 50mm Resolutes. Now I weighed them, I'll put the weights up on the screen. Obviously it's going to be heavier than the smaller tire. Wasn't a terrible weight penalty, but it was there. They mounted up very well on a set of Easton carbon rims. They're 24mm internal. Used WTB sealant. They aired right up with a little compressor brick, which was very nice. They held air, they didn't weep, they didn't leak. They basically acted like a modern tubeless tire should. Measuring them, well, they're not a really, really big 50. They ended up being 48mm at first blush, and at the end of the riding time, they were 49. Wilderness Trail Bikes says that these were designed to be 50mm wide on a 25mm internal rim, which is not what I have. I'll cut them a little slack, but I would say that these run toward the slim side of a 50, just so you know. Now I put them through their paces. I ran them from 21 PSI to 35 PSI, everything from 100 miles of gravel-y, dirty, pumicey, silty, or fast dirt to hauling the dog bike or hauling the dog trailer around the beach just for fun, and run them at 35 pounds in. So I ran it through a gamut of conditions. I just wanted to experience what that bigger tire was for me, and I'm wondering, honestly, was the juice worth the squeeze? Because you know there's going to be some trade-offs. Well, here are my thoughts, both good and maybe not bad, but less than good. Okay, here we go. Anytime you can take a bigger volume tire into the dirt, it's almost always going to be good. It's going to be better, right? As the road surface, the dirt surface gets worse and worse, it's rutted, it's rocky, it's rooty, it's sandy. A bigger volume tire is your friend. It will almost always be faster. It'll give you more confidence, more control, more traction, more comfort. It is just a total win. It's why mountain bike tires are gotten so big, because that just is what works so well out there. Now for a gravel bike, there's got to be a tipping point somewhere, but this 50mm tire, this Resolute, when I was pointing it toward rougher dirt conditions and rolling along at speed, it was just marvelous. It was definitely a step up from what I was used to, not dramatically so, but I'm coming from a tire that's already almost 44mm wide. If you're coming from something like a 40 and you can put this 50 on your gravel bike, you're gonna go, wow, that is pretty crazy. It is more comfortable. It feels more confident. And if you're speed focused on bad dirt, if you're trying to, you know, reduce pinch flats and you want to maintain that just down the road pace that you're going to get on varied conditions, I would be very surprised if the bigger tire wasn't always going to be faster for you. Yes, certainly, if the dirt is very smooth or you're doing long, steep climbs, the bigger tire is not really your friend. But under most conditions, a gravel bike, I would think overall, if you're in the dirt a lot and your dirt isn't very good, there's hardly anything that you're losing out on with this 50 millimeter or with, just in general, a bigger gravel bike tire. Now, the negatives, well, there are negatives, and I noticed it mostly when I was on, on the road or very, very smooth surfaces or climbing very, very long grades or trying to accelerate, quick accelerations over rolling hills. I noticed the weight. It's just going to be there, and whether or not that's offset by the other performance gains really has to be up to you. I also noticed how much extra effort it took to turn it offline, like on paved roads. Everything starts to slow down a little bit, takes a little more effort to get the tire to turn. Again, that may not be a big deal for you, but if on your gravel bike you value that really snappy, really responsive feel and you like that, you don't mind underbiking, well, a tire this size for you may simply not be worth it. What about for me? Well, it hasn't won me over. I see the point to it. There are times, like for instance, I did 100 miles of gravel recently on the Lassen Adventure Ride. You can see my video. That should be up before this is. There are times the 50, I was running at about 25 pounds for the whole day. There are times this 50 millimeter tire was absolutely working for me. The silt beds, the pumicy rock and places like that, I definitely was gaining. There was a lot of that. It really wasn't necessary. I was just hauling it along. I would have been just fine with my 42s. And in the times where it was the bad dirt, the 42s would really have been just fine for the 100 feet or so of bad dirt. So on that ride, I really didn't gain very much from running the 50s. And it had me thinking, I don't think these are quite for me. I think it's a little bit, it's almost two things at once. It's more than I need, but it isn't enough to make a dramatic difference in the capabilities of my gravel bike. And it has me thinking about two directions. One direction that way, one direction that way. I'm thinking about rolling back and trying some of those 45s again. 45 millimeter tires I have, maybe picking up another model or two and trying them. Some of those, they weigh less than this 50, okay? And about the same as my 42 millimeter Resolute. Some of them roll very fast. And yet I found that maybe that 45 millimeter volume, is that my new sweet spot? It might be. I'm going to be checking that out. Watch for that coming up. I think I'm going to do some more 45s and see how it is. Here's the thing with the other direction. 45s are that direction. What that direction is bigger than 50. And when I say bigger, I mean, well, maybe big like this big. What if I don't care about the compromise, trying to find that perfect balance of all-around performance? What if I just want to up my maximum dirt performance and I've got the room on my gravel bike to do it like you might have? How is this going to be? More on that, the details and the specs of this coming up. Stay tuned. There's such a thing as a subscribe button. You go click on that, because if you want to know how this turned out, you're going to want to stick around for what I got coming up. All right, that's it for now. You guys have a great weekend or weekend. Who knows where this is going to go? In the meantime, you go ride your bikes.